There's a moment in every person's life when they're forced to look at themselves in the mirror and ask the question that terrifies them most. Is this it? Is this all I'm ever going to be? For most of us, that moment comes and goes. We push it down, distract ourselves, tell ourselves tomorrow will be different. But for one man, shivering in the back seat of his Honda Civic on a freezing December night, that question became the spark that would ignite $100 million empire. This isn't just a story about success. This is a story about what happens when you have absolutely nothing left to lose, and you decide that rock bottom isn't where you'll die. It's where you'll be reborn. His name doesn't matter as much as his story, because his story could be yours. 2 years ago, he was sleeping in his car outside a 24-hour gym, not because he was traveling, not because he was on some adventure, because he had nowhere else to go. He lost his apartment after his startup failed for the third time. His savings were gone. His credit cards were maxed out. His girlfriend had left him 6 months earlier, telling him she couldn't watch him destroy himself anymore. His family had stopped taking his calls because every conversation became a request for money, for help, for one more chance. And so there he was, 32 years old, brushing his teeth in a gym bathroom, changing clothes in bathroom stalls, and wondering how the kid who graduated top of his class ended up here. He wasn't homeless in the traditional sense, but he was broken in every sense that mattered. The nights were the hardest, not because of the cold, though that was brutal, not because of the discomfort, though his back ached every morning. The hardest part was the silence. When you're alone with your thoughts at 3 in the morning, parked under a flickering streetlight, watching people drive by in their warm cars heading to their warm homes, you start to believe the lies. You start to believe you're not good enough, that you're a failure, that everyone who doubted you was right. He would lie there scrolling through social media, watching his former classmates post about their promotions, their new houses, their perfect families, and he'd feel this crushing weight on his chest. Shame, deep, suffocating shame. But somewhere in that darkness, something shifted. It wasn't a lightning bolt moment. It wasn't some motivational video that changed everything. It was simpler than that. One night, after crying until he had no tears left, he made a decision. He decided that if he was going to feel this much pain anyway, he might as well feel it while fighting for something, rather than running from everything. The next morning, he walked into that gym, took the longest shower of his life, and made a promise to himself. He would give himself 1 year, 365 days to build something real, or he would accept defeat and move back home. But this time would be different. This time, he wouldn't chase the next shiny idea. He wouldn't try to build $1 billion company overnight. He would start small, embarrassingly small. He'd spent years trying to create the perfect business plan, the perfect pitch deck, waiting for the perfect moment. But perfection had left him sleeping in a car. So he chose progress over perfection. He started offering freelance consulting in his area of expertise, digital marketing. No fancy website, no business cards, just cold emails and LinkedIn messages. $10 an hour, 20 hours a week, enough to rent a room in a shared apartment, enough to eat something other than dollar menu burgers. Those first few months tested him in ways he never imagined, not because the work was hard, but because his ego kept screaming at him. He'd had a six-figure salary once. He'd given TED-style talks, and now he was charging rates that teenagers charged for tutoring. But he kept showing up every single day. When clients hired him, he didn't just meet their expectations, he shattered them. He worked late into the night, not because he had to, but because he finally understood something crucial. Success isn't about talent. It's not about luck. It's about becoming the kind of person who does what they say they're going to do, even when no one is watching, especially when no one is watching. Word started to spread. One client became two, two became five, five became 15. He raised his rates, then raised them again. 6 months after sleeping in his car, he was making more money than he'd ever made in his life, and he was doing it with his own 2 hands. But money wasn't the real transformation. The real transformation was happening inside him. See, when you've lost everything, when you've been stripped down to nothing, you discover who you really are underneath all the titles and possessions and relationships. You discover what you're actually made of. And he discovered he was made of something stronger than he ever knew. He discovered that the version of himself he'd been before, the one chasing status and impressing others, that wasn't his real self. That was a costume. His real self was the guy who could sleep in a car and still believe in tomorrow. His real self was the guy who could start from zero and not see it as a setback, but as a clean slate. And once he connected with that version of himself, everything changed. He started thinking bigger, not recklessly bigger, but strategically bigger. He took the money he was making from consulting and hired his first employee, then his second. He built systems so the business could run without him working every single hour. He started creating content, sharing his knowledge, building an audience. People resonated with his story because it was real, because he wasn't pretending to be some guru who had it all figured out. He was honest about his failures, about sleeping in that car, about the nights he wanted to give up. And that honesty became his brand. Within a year of that rock bottom moment, he had a team of 10. Within 18 months, he'd raised his first round of funding, not because he needed it, but because investors were chasing him. Within 2 years, his company was valued at over $100 million. But here's what nobody tells you about success stories. The number, the 100 million, the empire, that's not the point. That's not what changed his life. What changed his life was who he became in the process. See, most people think success is about reaching a destination, about finally arriving at some magical place where all your problems disappear and life becomes easy. But he learned that success is about transformation. It's about becoming the kind of person who can handle success. Because if you're not careful, success will destroy you faster than failure ever could. He remembered who he was when he had nothing, and he carried that person with him. He still drives a modest car. He still works from a simple office. He still remembers what it feels like to be invisible, to be counted out, to be told you'll never make it. And that memory keeps him humble. That memory keeps him hungry. So what can we learn from his journey? What universal truths can we extract from this story that we can apply to our own lives, wherever we are right now? First, understand this. Rock bottom is not your enemy. Rock bottom is your teacher. It's the place where all the illusions die and you finally see reality clearly. Most people spend their entire lives running from pain, from discomfort, from the hard truths they don't want to face. But pain is information. Failure is feedback. When you stop running and start listening, that's when transformation begins. His time in that car wasn't wasted, it was necessary. It burned away everything that wasn't essential and left him with the raw materials he needed to rebuild. Second, let go of who you think you're supposed to be and embrace who you actually are. He spent years trying to live up to some image of success that society had sold him. The corner office, the impressive title, the life that looks perfect on Instagram. But that image almost killed him. It wasn't until he lost everything that he found himself. And when he started building from that authentic place, everything aligned. The right opportunities appeared. The right people showed up. Success became inevitable because he was finally being himself. Stop trying to be impressive and start trying to be real. The world has enough copycats. It needs more originals. Third, success is built in the unglamorous hours. Everyone wants the highlight reel. Everyone wants the moment they sign the big deal or cut the ribbon or give the victory speech. But nobody wants the 3 a.m. work sessions. Nobody wants the 100th rejection. Nobody wants to do the boring, repetitive tasks that compound into something extraordinary over time. He didn't build a $100 million company with one brilliant idea. He built it with 10,000 small decisions to show up when it was hard, to do the work when no one was watching, to choose discipline over comfort every single day. That's the secret. There is no secret. There's just work. Consistent, relentless, unglamorous work. Fourth, your current situation is not your final destination. Where you are right now, the job you have, the money in your bank account, the relationships you're in, none of that is permanent unless you decide it is. He could have stayed stuck in that car. He could have accepted defeat. He could have told himself he was just unlucky, that life was unfair, that success was for other people. But he didn't. He chose to see his situation as temporary. He chose to believe that change was possible. And that belief, that tiny spark of possibility, was enough to light the way forward. You don't need to see the whole staircase. You just need to see the next step. And finally, remember this. The world doesn't owe you anything. Not success, not happiness, not fairness. But here's the beautiful part. You don't need the world to owe you anything because everything you need is already inside you. The strength, the resilience, the creativity, the determination. It's all there, waiting for you to claim it. He didn't succeed because the universe finally decided to give him a break. He succeeded because he stopped waiting for a break and started creating his own opportunities. Stop asking for permission. Stop waiting for the perfect moment. Stop hoping someone will come save you. Save yourself. So here's my challenge to you. Right now, today, before you close this video and go back to scrolling, I want you to do something. I want you to identify one thing, just one thing, that you've been avoiding because it's hard or scary or uncomfortable. Maybe it's having a difficult conversation. Maybe it's starting that project you've been putting off. Maybe it's admitting you need help. And I want you to do it. Not tomorrow, not next week, today. Because that's how transformation starts. Not with a massive overhaul of your entire life, but with one brave decision followed by another, then another, then another. He didn't go from sleeping in his car to $100 million empire in a single leap. He got there one small, courageous step at a time, and so will you. Your comeback story is waiting to be written. The only question is, will you pick up the pen? Because the same strength that got him through those freezing nights in that car, the same fire that kept him going when everyone else gave up on him, that same power lives inside you too. It always has. Now it's time to use it.